Sky.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let's talk first of all about this Sky exclusive, which has revealed that landlords have been offered huge amounts of cash, 6 months rent up front, deposit up front, guarantee 5-year lease, free refurbishment of your property to landlords in a bid to get them to agree to house migrants. This is in an email we've seen here from a local authority to a landlord. What amazes me about this, though, is not these offers, is that why would any landlord be needed to be persuaded to house these channel migrants who are being housed as would-be asylum seekers when we know they're being offered ridiculous deals, rents way above market rates, and guaranteed, bills paid, council tax, refurb, everything? What's not to like if you're a landlord?
Well, I think the only thing you've got left really is your innate sense of patriotism and whether or not you like your neighbours.
Yeah.
The fact that they're offering refurbishment included suggests they don't think these people are going to behave terribly well in the property.
That is an interesting point. Yes, exactly. But it is. I mean, it is extraordinary how much all these pledges. We had it under the Tories. We've got it under Labour now. Getting people out of these hotels and get them out of the 4-star hotels and the 3-star hotels. But then they had to go into hostels, and then there aren't enough hostels, so we're going to have to put them in private accommodation because there is already in many parts of the country a lack of decent rental accommodation for young people who can't afford to buy, don't have the job security, can't get a mortgage with ridiculous flat and house prices. And then now, so we've got these people basically competing with people on ordinary salaries, working hard, who can't even begin to even find a decent home they can afford to rent.
Well, it's staggeringly unfair. I think people feel that taxes are going up, services are going down, and now they discover that their own government is competing against them in the rental market and making it harder for them to buy somewhere to live.
Yeah, I mean, it is extraordinary, isn't it? What did you make of we've had these reports across the last week or so from The Sun about asylum seekers living in hostels, living in hotels, working as delivery riders for the big delivery companies, Uber Eats, Deliveroo and Just Eat. But now it's been in The Sun today, a secret Deliveroo and Uber Eats takeaway kitchen in a taxpayer-funded asylum hotel was exposed when 2 local residents filmed themselves going inside. Fast food orders being prepared on the premises, hundreds of asylum seekers being housed there. And the owners are being paid an absolute fortune of this asylum accommodation to house migrants, and they've basically set up a pop-up kitchen. This is in Wakefield in West Yorkshire. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up.
Well, it's incredible. I mean, what one thinks is there's so many security guards, and there's so many people in the hotel. Did nobody smell anything cooking?
Yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you? Also, I'm a little bit worried about, the standards. If they didn't know it was there, how can we be sure of the hey, I worked in a burger takeaway, the safety standards, the gloves, the hand washing, all of that, how the meat is kept. You'd be rather concerned that if people aren't monitoring this and everyone's acting illegally, they're probably not paying that much attention to health and safety.
Well, indeed, and I would advise people, if they happen to live near a local migrant hotel, be a bit careful about what you deliver or Uber Eats.
Well, exactly. Well, again, one of my big concerns on that, not only people working illegally, is the risk when you get a delivery that, it's your teenage daughter who's answering the door to somebody, you don't know who they are. No one appears to know who some of these people are. And as it turns out, again, ties into the next story, channel migrants are 24 times more likely to go to prison than Brits, 3.4%. So 1 in 30 migrants who arrive on small boats end up behind bars. That is according to official data for nationalities who make up the large proportion of arrivals, including Somalians, Afghans, Iraqis, Albanians and Iranians. They're far more likely than the average Brit to commit crimes, even allowing for the fact that, the average Brit includes, pensioners and middle-aged people who largely don't commit crime, and that most of the people arriving are young men who are always in every society responsible for most crime. That is an astounding statistic, isn't it?
It's absolutely astounding. I think even the Home Office attempt to defend this by saying that young men are the most likely to commit crimes. It's not a huge defence. It still means that we're allowing people who are more likely to commit a crime into the country.
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea not to let a whole load of young men into the country. Throw that idea around.
Exactly. Most of them come from countries which have got high levels of violence anyway. You don't really have to be a genius to work this stuff out. And as you said, even if you do account for the fact that they're young and they're male, they're still significantly overrepresented. And it doesn't even include those of who are dual passport holders, who have foreign nationality and British nationality.
Yeah, absolutely.
That even higher.
I mean, but that's the thing. Do you think, though, this whole idea that we've had for years, about these are illegal migrants, but legal migrants being a boon to the economy, culturally, diversity, the economic benefits of people coming here, filling those jobs which apparently we can't or won't do, that has now been exploded. The idea of this whole, like, well, we should take in the world's, masses who are desperate to get to us from lovely, sunny, nice France, that all of these mantras that have been repeated to us, and if you question them, you're just told you're a racist or a bigot or a xenophobe, and unkind, that these are all being exploded before our very eyes. And the reality is there. That reality's always been there, but they didn't provide the data, they didn't allow us to talk about it, they shouted and racist at us, but now the plain truth is out there.
I think that's true. And I think, funnily enough, the Prime Minister actually agreed with you before he decided that actually he doesn't read what's put in front of him. We know that Yvette Cooper has bowed to pressure. She's going to do migrant crime tables. Well, the reason why is because you have to freedom of information request things to discover what was obvious to most people.
Yeah.
The real shock for me is, why was the government not doing that in the first place?
But again, also, why? I've always been thinking, if people are so convinced, and this Labour Party have been so convinced, Yvette Cooper's basically open borders to all intents and purposes before she became the Home Secretary. But if these people are so convinced it's all such a good thing, surely they'd want all these stats out there to show what a boon to the economy it is, what a great impact on our culture, and how wonderful these people are who are arriving on our shores. Surely they'd want those stats out there. Or did they know the truth, in which case that's why they didn't want those stats out there? Same with the Conservative government that oversaw all this as well. But if they knew the truth, why did they carry on letting this happen?
Well, I think you're right there. The thing is, they may know the truth, but they don't want to believe it in a lot of cases. A huge number of people on the left supporting mass migration is a moral question. Yeah. It's not a question about whether it's actually good for the British people. And I think, as you said, the case for legal immigration has largely been exploded. The case for illegal immigration is very obviously hugely damaging to the country. And far too often people's first response is to try and diminish it, turn it away, or play it down.
Indeed. Well, we know we've got the Rwanda policy was out the door. Stopping the boats didn't work for Rishi Sunak. Smashing the gangs and having a nice chat with Emmanuel Macron over Kronenbourg didn't really work for Keir Starmer either. Now there's talk about foreign leaders and senior figures in governments being barred from visiting Britain if their governments refuse to help tackle illegal migration, in particular by blocking returns of people to their country. We've had situations, haven't we, recently, a grooming gang convicted out of prison far too sodding early for my liking. There's even the sentence he got originally not good enough. But Pakistan, he basically renounced his Pakistani joint nationality now, so he hasn't got Pakistani nationality. Pakistan won't take him back. We're stuck with him, even though weirdly he's building a home in Pakistan, in the country he doesn't want to go and live in. But actually, if foreign leaders don't cooperate and take back their wrong-uns, then we won't cooperate with them. Do you think that's a route that will work?
I think that's the most likely route to work, precisely because most of the nations where we want to send people back are nations where they want to come here. They make a lot of money in countries like Pakistan from remittances in Britain. A lot of the Pakistani elite own homes in London. Yeah. Imran Khan obviously was over here for many, many years, had many, many girlfriends here. They would
before he became a devout Muslim.
Before he became a very devout Muslim and went to prison. So they want to be here and they want to come here, and that is the leverage that we have. So we should use it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I use any leverage we've got. Guy Dampier, Senior Researcher on Nationhood at the Prosperity Institute, thank you very much indeed for that.